Let's talk about Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes, Prince. And now, a fraud so massive it dwarfs most scams you've ever heard of. This is a story that starts with good intentions but spirals into one of the largest financial scandals in recent memory. During the pandemic, the federal government expanded programs to feed hungry children, including the Federal Child Nutrition Program. The goal was simple: make sure no child went hungry while schools were closed and families struggled to make ends meet. The idea: fund organizations to provide meals for kids in need. It was a lifeline for countless families, and the money flowed quickly to meet the urgent demand. In Minnesota, a nonprofit called Feeding Our Future became a major distributor of federal cash to food sites. They were supposed to be the bridge between government funds and hungry children. Sounds heartwarming, right? It wasn't. Beneath the surface, something far more sinister was brewing. While many struggled, some allegedly saw this as a personal goldmine. Instead of feeding children, they fed their own bank accounts. In 2022, prosecutors charged dozens with faking invoices, inventing phantom children, and pocketing $250 million. The scale of deception was staggering: fake paperwork, fake meal counts, and fake beneficiaries. That's enough to buy every Minneapolis resident a fancy brunch every Sunday for a year. Imagine the sheer volume of money moving through this scheme. But that was just the beginning. The investigation kept growing, uncovering new layers of fraud and more people involved. As investigators dug deeper, the numbers ballooned. What started as a local scandal quickly became a national headline. Today, prosecutors believe the total fraud could be closer to $9 billion. $9 billion. That's a sum that's hard to even comprehend. That's more than the GDP of some countries, enough to fund Minnesota's entire K-12 education system for a year. It's a number that should make anyone stop and think. This wasn't a few bad apples. It was an entire orchard, allegedly exploiting a system meant for the most vulnerable. The very people who needed help most were left behind. The fallout is shaking Minnesota to its core, raising urgent questions about oversight and accountability. How could something this big go unnoticed for so long? Who was watching the money? Who's paying the price? And what happens to the children who were supposed to be helped? And how did a program meant to feed children become $1 billion buffet for fraud? The answers are as shocking as the numbers themselves. You'd expect the heroes in a story like this to be seasoned FBI agents or high-profile investigative journalists, the kind you see breaking big cases on the nightly news. But in this case, one of the most crucial figures who helped expose the entire mess wasn't a government official or a reporter from a major outlet. It was a YouTuber. Nick Shirley, a freelance journalist with a knack for digital sleuthing, used his YouTube channel as a platform to investigate the fraud. He spent countless hours connecting dots, poring over public records, and following the money trail, doing the kind of meticulous work you'd expect from government agencies or professional watchdogs. Through his videos, Shirley mapped out a web of shell companies, fake owners, and suspicious transactions. He revealed how money meant to feed hungry kids was instead funneled into luxury cars, lavish vacations, and extravagant lifestyles. Shirley's relentless reporting didn't just uncover the fraud, it galvanized Minnesotans. His work crowdsourced outrage, sparked community conversations, and made the scandal impossible for authorities and the public to ignore. It's both inspiring and deeply troubling. Why did it take a YouTuber to sound the alarm? Where were the official watchdogs, the institutions meant to protect the public? Shirley's work stands as a powerful testament to the impact of citizen journalism and a glaring indictment of the systemic failures that allowed this fraud to flourish unchecked. When a $9 billion scandal erupts, it doesn't just make headlines, it shakes the very foundations of public trust. The sheer scale of the fraud is impossible to ignore, and the shockwaves ripple through every level of government. Even Congress, often slow to act, has no choice but to pay attention and respond to the growing outrage. Thanks to relentless digging by people like Nick Shirley, whose determination brought hidden truths to light, the story can't be swept under the rug. The House Judiciary Subcommittee is now holding a high-profile hearing, dramatically titled, "When Public Frauds Are Abused," to get answers and demand accountability. Nick Shirley, the YouTuber who uncovered the scheme, will testify as a star witness, his online investigations now center stage in Washington. It's a surreal moment, a digital investigator briefing lawmakers on a multi-billion-dollar crime, using evidence gathered from the internet and social media. Politicians are promising transparency and accountability, vowing to fix the system and prevent future abuses, elevating this from a local scandal to a national crisis. This was federal taxpayer money, meant to feed children in need, not line fraudsters' pockets or disappear into the shadows of bureaucracy. The hearing is a crucial first step, not just for punishing the guilty, but for exposing the failures and loopholes that let this happen in the first place. The nation is watching, demanding answers and real change. $9 billion isn't just a number. It's billions of meals that never reached hungry kids. While fraudsters bought luxury cars, children in Minnesota went to bed hungry. Honest organizations struggled for resources in a system being plundered. This wasn't just theft from the government. It was food stolen from the most vulnerable. The scandal shattered trust in nonprofits, making donors and communities wary of supporting real charities. It's a moral crime, not just a financial one, a betrayal of every citizen who sacrificed during the pandemic. The true cost is measured in lost meals, broken trust, and a profound sense of injustice. Minnesota is left to pick up the pieces. Injecting billions of dirty dollars into a community has consequences. Minnesota has seen a spike in crime and a sense of lawlessness, with residents reporting theft, property damage, and fear. Illicit money fuels more crime, drug trafficking, violence, and turf wars. People feel abandoned, caught between emboldened criminals and a government that failed to protect them. The perception of impunity erodes trust in law enforcement and encourages more wrongdoing. This is the hidden cost of white-collar crime, real neighborhoods, real victims. The fraud didn't just happen on paper, it detonated in Minnesota's communities. The shockwaves are still being felt. As federal authorities ramped up their investigation, tensions exploded in Minnesota. Homeland Security raids targeting suspects, some allegedly in the country illegally, sparked outrage, especially in immigrant communities. A tragic flashpoint: the fatal shooting of Renee Nicole Good during a federal operation, labeled domestic terrorism by officials. Protests erupted, with activists accusing agents of excessive force and targeting minorities. The community, already reeling from fraud, now faces violence and mistrust from law enforcement. The protests are about more than one shooting. They're about years of frustration and fear. Healing will require more than arrests. It demands rebuilding trust between authorities and the people they serve. At the congressional hearing, Nick Shirley won't be alone. Jennifer Larson, CEO of a local autism clinic, and Scott Dexter, a former police officer and fraud investigator, will testify. Larson represents the real nonprofits hurt by the scandal, struggling for funding and trust in a poisoned system. She'll highlight how honest organizations now face suspicion and new hurdles. Dexter brings the law enforcement perspective, explaining the challenges of investigating sprawling financial crimes. He'll show why local agencies were overwhelmed and why federal help was needed. Their testimony will reveal the true impact and what must change to prevent another disaster. So, what now? Minnesota faces a $9 billion hole, a community in turmoil, and a crisis of trust. Legal accountability is just the start. Every person involved must be pursued. But this is a systemic failure, demanding a systemic fix. Congress must overhaul how relief funds are distributed and monitored, with real transparency and oversight. Minnesota's agencies need a full, independent audit and must answer for missed warning signs. Healing the community means restoring faith, addressing crime, and investigating law enforcement actions. This won't be solved with one law or a few convictions. It'll take sustained effort on every front. Only then can Minnesota and the nation move forward. At its core, this scandal is about a catastrophic lack of transparency. The fraud thrived in darkness, complex paperwork, lax oversight, and a disconnect between government and the people. The solution: radical transparency. Every dollar should be traceable, with public dashboards showing where money goes. Accountability must be swift. Seize stolen assets, return them to communities, and punish wrongdoing. This is a wake-up call. Our systems are vulnerable when we prioritize speed over security. The path forward is clear: transparency, accountability, and safeguards to protect taxpayer dollars. We owe it to the kids who went hungry, and to ourselves.